of seeing too clearly. Have you ever noticed that the deeper you think, the harder it is to connect with others? That the more clearly you see the world, the more distant you feel from it? If you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. History is full of thinkers, writers, and visionaries who walked this same path, admired from a distance but misunderstood in their own time. Why does this happen? Why does society so often resist those who see reality differently? To answer that, we need to explore both psychology and philosophy, two lenses that reveal why deep thought can feel less like a blessing and more like a burden. The uncomfortable power of thought. Let's start with a simple comparison. When you stand next to someone who is stronger than you, you may admire their discipline, but you don't feel like they are attacking your identity. When you meet someone wealthier, you may feel envy, but it doesn't necessarily shake who you believe yourself to be. But intelligence is different. Our thoughts, beliefs, and worldviews are not just things we have. They are who we are. So, when someone comes along with a perspective that is sharper, deeper, or more refined, it doesn't feel like they're sharing knowledge. It feels like they're exposing our limitations. Psychologists call this identity threat. Unlike muscles or money, ideas cut directly into the self. This is why brilliant minds often unsettle rather than inspire. They don't just propose new ways of seeing. They reveal what others would prefer to leave hidden. The mirror of the mind. Think of it this way. A deep thinker acts like a mirror. Not the kind that shows your face, but the kind that reflects your blind spots. And most people don't like mirrors that show them what they don't want to see. This explains why philosophers like Socrates were put on trial, why Galileo was silenced, and why countless thinkers, from Nietzsche to Simone Weil, struggled to find belonging in their own societies. It wasn't simply that their ideas were too complex. It was that their presence disrupted the comfort of others. Because human beings at our core crave comfort far more than truth. Why truth feels like a threat. Neuroscience helps explain this reaction. Studies show that when someone feels outmatched intellectually, the brain activates the amygdala, the same region responsible for fear and survival instincts. In other words, being around a sharper mind can feel, on a subconscious level, like facing a predator. This response isn't rational, it's evolutionary. For most of human history, survival wasn't about being the wisest individual. It was about being accepted by the group. A tribe that rejected you was a death sentence, which means our brains evolved to favor belonging over insight. So when someone challenges our beliefs, questions our assumptions, or simply thinks on a level we can't reach, we don't just disagree. We feel endangered. Why the group rejects the thinker. This is also why deep thinkers often thrive in one-on-one conversations, but struggle in groups. In private, curiosity can take root, but in a group, status takes over. Suddenly, intelligence becomes a threat to hierarchy, reputation, and identity. If one person feels outshined, they may respond with subtle dismissal, sarcasm, or outright rejection. And soon, the group follows suit, not because the thinker is wrong, but because their presence unsettles the fragile balance of belonging. This is why so many intellectuals describe a feeling of loneliness in crowds, surrounded by people, but unable to truly connect. The biases that guard the ego. Philosophy and psychology both point to a series of mental defenses that keep people from embracing uncomfortable truths. The Dunning-Kruger effect. Those who know little often believe they know more than they do, while those who know much doubt themselves. This creates conflict between confidence and competence. The status quo bias. The mind clings to what is familiar, even when it's false. New truths feel dangerous simply because they are different. The backfire effect. When confronted with contradictory evidence, people don't change their minds. They double down on their beliefs. Taken together, these biases explain why thinkers who challenge the norm are often ignored, ridiculed, or even hated, not because they are wrong, but because they are disruptive. The modern struggle of deep thinkers. And in the modern world, this struggle has only intensified. Social media platforms reward speed, simplicity, and emotion. The more complex or nuanced an idea is, the less likely it is to spread. A shallow slogan will travel the globe before a thoughtful argument finishes its first paragraph. This creates a culture where entertainment is celebrated, but depth is sidelined, where certainty is rewarded, but nuance is punished. For deep thinkers, this means not only are their ideas resisted on a psychological level, they are also filtered out by the very systems that shape society today. The burden of seeing. Clearly, philosophers like Schopenhauer believed that this isolation was inevitable. He argued that the more a person sees reality as it truly is, the harder it becomes for them to live comfortably within it. Most people, he said, are guided by the will to live, the instinct to seek comfort, pleasure, and survival. But thinkers are often driven by something else, the will to truth, the need to understand even when the answers are painful. And this pursuit, while noble, often sets them apart from society, because where most find meaning in distraction, thinkers find only disillusion, the gift in the curse. So, what does all this mean? Should deep thinkers resign themselves to isolation? Not at all. If history shows us anything, it's that while society may resist them in the moment, it is the thinkers, the questioners, and the seekers who leave the deepest mark. What feels like rejection is often recognition in disguise, because society doesn't ignore what it truly finds irrelevant. It ignores what it fears. And perhaps that is the strange gift hidden in the curse, a reminder that truth has never been about popularity, but about persistence. Closing reflection. So next time you feel isolated in your thoughts, remember this: the discomfort you create in others isn't a flaw, it's proof that you're touching something real.